What happens in China is a textbook example of how a financial crisis develops. Problems in one area caused failures in others, and the resulting anxieties and lack of confidence prevented the system from working efficiently or fostering economic growth. Hello, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we'll be telling you about China's current financial crises. Watch this video till the end to learn about the country's mortgage crisis, failing banks, and protests. Before we begin, make sure that you've subscribed to our channel. Trouble started to spread as soon as Evergrande revealed its failure. Any business or financial institution relying on Evergrande to fulfill its obligations was at risk of suffering a loss immediately. Additionally, due to the nature of finance, everyone who relied on these other people soon became exposed. Whether the vulnerability was primary, secondary, or even tertiary to Evergrande, every lender and potential business partner was concerned about the viability of everyone else. These concerns grew even more vital as other developers announced similar vulnerabilities after Evergrande. When Chinese borrowers threatened to stop making mortgage payments because they were concerned that these developers would never finish the projects they had been contracted to work on, this mistrust of others spread to Chinese mortgage lenders. This threat caused Chinese depositors to worry about the security of their money because the majority of banks were implicated. This worry grew more intense when the Bank of China unilaterally prohibited withdrawals. The financial issues have had obvious economic repercussions. China's economy is already showing signs of weakness. Despite increased government expenditure on infrastructure, risks fall far short of this year's already reduced real growth aim of more than 5%. Many attribute the country's economic woes to Beijing's strict quarantines and lockdowns in response to COVID-19 outbreaks. These have undoubtedly been involved. However, the financial crisis has had a significant impact while being downplayed by Beijing and Western media. People tend to reduce or stop spending when they worry about the safety of their bank deposits. Lenders stop providing cash to potentially promising initiatives when they're concerned about the viability of the business and individual borrowers. Projects halt when parties to business agreements worry about the viability of their partners. All of this inhibits business and progress as it's becoming more and more apparent. Mortgage crisis. Trouble has spread across the nation's cities more than 12 months after one of China's largest real estate developers started to fail. Numerous other developers still need to make their debt payments, new home sales have plummeted, and construction cranes are no longer being used at many sites. The Chinese government, which up until now has largely remained out of the country's housing crash, has taken its most decisive actions to lessen the harm from the turmoil that has engulfed China Evergrande Group, the top most indebted developer in the world, and many of its rivals. China's economy is dominated by real estate development, which accounts for around a quarter of bank loans and economic output. A minimum of 3/5 of household assets in China are made up of housing, and many Chinese see flats as the only surefire way to amass money. Banks are failing. At the depths of the 2008 crash, China banks are now valued similarly to U.S. peers. There are increasing worries that bad debt will mount at China's large banks. For China banks, investors want a 26% national risk premium. The financial crisis in China is escalating. In the most recent phase, Chinese banks have taken drastic measures to increase their loan loss reserves in anticipation of significant loan losses. They have accessed the bond markets in China for about 30% more money than they did the previous year. It is not shocking that the banks are having issues. In reality, they're only a new development in the rapidly spreading crisis that started over a year ago when the enormous real estate developer Evergrande declared that it could not support anymore its roughly $300 billion in liabilities. Beijing exhibited a glaring lack of understanding at the time and refused to act swiftly or comprehensively enough to halt the spiraling succession of failures that have since defined Chinese banking. Until Beijing takes more firm action, these failures and the problem in general will continue to develop. China protests. The Chinese economy is not having a good 2022. The inefficiency of the government there is becoming tiresome to the populace. China is breaking apart, and bank protests are becoming more widespread. The CCP is so terrified that it has deployed tanks to preserve order. Upset homebuyers have threatened to cease mortgage payments on incomplete projects. This social media-driven movement is already gaining enough traction that Beijing has begun to pay attention. Thank you for staying with us till the end. We hope you found this video helpful. Share your response in the comments below. Hit a like, share with your friends, and until next time, stay tuned.